You are live.
Hello, everyone. It is 7:31 p.m. and I call the meeting of the Grosio Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Commission to order. Normally we'd be doing the Pledge of Allegiance, but since it's a Zoom meeting and the clumsiness with that, we're going to forego that. But just let everyone know it's not a slight to the flag or the country. It's just makes for a more efficient meeting in this regard. When we get back into regular meeting, non-virtual meeting, we can go ahead with the Pledge of Allegiance again. With roll call, I know that Carl sends his regards. He will not be able to make it tonight. John said it was not likely that he'd be able to make it, and Alan said he would try, but he is at work, so he's not sure if he could make it or not. But Dan is here, Rebecca's here, Christine is here, and I'm here, so we do have quorum. So with that being said, does everyone have a copy of the agenda? And is there any additions or deletions that folks would like to see?
I'd like to add, I don't see anything on here about the Ralph Wilson Jr. Can we talk about that, or do you have that hidden somewhere in the agenda?
I don't have that specifically on here, so we can talk about that. I'm sure it might come up in conversation with some of these other things, but if it doesn't, then we can add that at the as one of the items. Maybe just talk about it in general. Maybe we could put that up after,
maybe under Bellevue or something like that.
Yeah, maybe after the maintenance items.
Okay, sounds good.
One thing I'd also like to add is, a featured conversation with Mary Bowling of the Downriver Link Greenways. I'd like to put her in the beginning, so that way, we can be respectful of her time.
Sure, absolutely. We should have invited Cliff when she's talking about greenways and stuff like that, but I can relay that to him. I'll take some notes.
Sounds good. Rebecca, Christine, is there anything that you would like to amend the agenda by?
No, it looks good.
Okay. All in favor of the amended agenda, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Any abstain? Hearing none, move forward. Next would be approval of the meeting minutes. Everyone should have gotten a copy via email. They are available on the township website. Thanks to Deputy Clerk Brian Friel, does a great job of keeping all of our stuff in order.
He does. And I say I'd like to make the motion to accept the minutes as written.
Discussion. I'll just add, I'm not sure. I thought Christine showed up late, and I don't think I saw her under the roll call. Is that true, Christine? You recall that in late September, if you did join late for the meeting?
She was like 5 minutes.
September?
Yeah, I think it's September 30th.
Yeah,
It's here, but I don't know. I don't know if I was in the roll call.
No, you were like 5 minutes late.
Yeah,
I said that's.
Yeah, was September the month where you guys had there was a power issue on the island?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. Yes, we had power issues. I think Alan had a problem logging on. I had a problem logging on.
Okay. So let's see, looking at the minutes here. Oh no, she is there. I apologize. I must have been looking at a different set. She's there.
Yeah, we all were late.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So if there's no other comments on the minutes, we have a motion on there. Is there a second?
I did the first. I can't do the second.
Yeah. Okay, I'll put the second out.
I will second.
Oh, Rebecca's got it.
Rebecca.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
No.
Thanks for putting those together. Next, we have public comment. So if there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak on something not related specifically on the agenda, this would be the time to do so. Do you want to make mention that we do have Carol Dobos? Is that how you pronounce your last name, Carol? And the audience?
It's Dobus.
Dobus. Okay.
Yes.
Welcome, Carol. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, you're welcome.
I like your tree.
Oh, that was my COVID project.
Really?
While I was busy, I redid the whole room, made it my genealogy space.
That is awesome.
Oh, thank you.
I know
Well,
Carol was talking with us on Facebook in regards to some needed bike paths in her opinion. So I let her know that we do meet regularly, and so she wanted to be a part of the meeting. So I'm not sure if you have anything specifically to say that's not a part of the other agenda items, but if you do, you can speak now. If not, we'll ask you for your opinion on other stuff. Feel free to speak at any time.
Okay, well, I kind of had trouble getting on for some reason. Well, so when I did finally get on, I didn't have a copy of the agenda. So I'm not sure what you're going to be discussing.
I can try and put that in the chat if you're. Do you know where the chat button is on the Zoom screen?
Well, you know what? I'm on iPad because I couldn't get the link on my computer, and I'm not seeing a chat button for.
Usually it's participants on the bottom, and the chat button is next to the share. My iPad's upstairs outside. Go get it. It's usually down.
Let me check and see.
Just trying to help you.
Yeah.
Okay, I see participants. See, my daughter sent me the link for this meeting because I could not find it. So I kind of found it on my own, and I'm only used to going on Zoom by somebody sending me a link and inviting me, and I put in a code. So I'm not sure if I did everything that I was supposed to do to be where I need to be.
Gotcha. I'll see if I can put it through Facebook Messenger right now for you.
Do you want me to go under participants, and then there's the names? I don't know if I need to put one of the names. No, that's for invite.
So near participants, there should be just like a little like comic balloon icon, and it says chat right next to share screen.
It's got a little slot down below.
Okay, I see chat too. There's two chat.
Actually, there's chat threes.
Okay. Send everyone. Is that what I put? Send everyone. Try it. Everyone. Okay, I got it.
Great.
I believe, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we'll be talking about maintenance. We'll be talking about safety upgrades. We'll be talking about different grants. We'll also be talking about, some of the new paths that we're looking at doing if we know funding was available, as well as education encouragement campaigns.
Okay. All right. You said you're talking about bike paths or no?
Yeah, they're looking at
the first one.
Sorry, what was that?
I just said bike path maintenance funds were the first one.
Yeah, I mean, we will be talking about bike paths, but if you want to talk about a specific one not mentioned under the agenda, feel free to do that.
Oh, so, I basically wanted to talk about the bike paths, but not a certain, I wanted to talk about the bike paths. So, but are you saying that if I have a specific bike path to talk about, then I should talk now?
Yeah, I mean, if you have one that you'd like to bring up right now, that's fine. If not, we'll go through the agenda, and if you have something to say, just let us know, and we'll be happy to let you speak at that time as well.
Okay. I got to get back to. I'm trying to get out of this. I just printed the. Darn it! I just printed the agenda. Okay, I should be back now.
Yes, you are.
All right, let me grab the agenda. Okay, I'll be more ready next time.
Good.
Okay, so okay, I don't see, what I want to talk about is I know we talked about it last year, and it's about the Groseal Parkway, getting a bike path. And I'm really, the way that I feel about it is, with the bridge closed, I've been using Parkway with no problem whatsoever, of course. But I'm a little concerned because the north side of the island has a way to get to the bike paths, and the south side of the island has a way to get to the bike paths. But the center of the island, which takes in Groseal Parkway and Blavet, Chicory, and Waterway, they can't get to a bike path safely at all. So that's what my concern is. And I know that there's people that aren't concerned, but I'm concerned for the kids as well as for myself. And I just thought that if we had a bike path that was on Groseal Parkway, we could feasibly go from Parkway all the way off the island even, and we could do the neighboring, cities, go to Gibraltar and see their nature center. And the way, as for me, it's no problem whatsoever. I don't have to have a Groseal, or I don't have to have a bike path to do that, because I live so close to the bridge that I can just go right off the bridge and I can do all my biking off of the island. But I want to utilize all the bike paths on Groseal also.
Carol, can I ask you a question? And don't
Sure.
give me your address. What street do you live on?
On Waterway.
Did you attend our meeting? Well, Brian, what was it? I was gone last year, early last year at the service center.
I did. If you're talking about the one where everybody on Parkway showed up.
Yep,
Mhm.
yep.
Okay, I was at that meeting. I found out about it kind of at the last minute, and I didn't realize that somebody was going to invite everybody on Parkway, or I would have invited.
Actually, I had letters sent out to everybody on the streets that you mentioned. If we
Okay.
had your correct name as the resident, you should have received that letter. And if you didn't, I feel bad because I relied on the township to do that.
Okay, I can't remember if I got a letter or not. I just know I found out that there was going to be a meeting. And this is something that I'd wanted since 1985. When they first started putting bike paths in, I moved in 85. So after that, when they started doing bike paths, it was told by that committee, they said that there would be a bike path put on the Parkway. And so I've watched all of these go in, and that one didn't go in, but I was at that meeting. If I had the time, if I would have known more ahead of time, I think I found out just a matter of 2 or 3 days before, and it wasn't possible for me to do anything about it, but I would have went door to door and asked all of them to come to that meeting and give their opinion and their view.
Well,
But
we had a little turnout. It wasn't like all the people from those streets came. And
it basically everybody was from Parkway. At that meeting.
yes.
They
And
were Parkway. And I was the only one in the room that when I stood up, I was for having a bike path. I remember that. And so that's why, as a matter of fact, my cousin lives on Parkway, and I sat right next to him, and him and I kind of laughed afterwards because I said, geez, you're against it and I'm for it, and we're still friends.
I still have notes of people's comments in a file, and I'll go through them again, and I'm sure I'm going to find your name.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
So, Carol, one thing I'd like to stress is that we always want to be able to hear from residents and try and figure out ways to accomplish goals that are especially relating to bicycle and pedestrian safety, but also comfort and quality of life. So, with that being said, we will be talking a little bit about different pathways, and I know that Groseal Parkway, was something that we were investigating more so. Now we're looking at other options, but if we can get down to specific goals, like you talked about connecting to pathway, to the bike path system, maybe there's ways that we can figure out, how to still accomplish those goals. So for example, maybe it's something that, we have a safer crossing at, Hickory Drive, or, maybe we're able to figure out something, down the road as far as, another type of piece of infrastructure. But I just want to let you know that, even if we're not pursuing something at this time, which I'm not saying that we won't be, because, Mary will be talking to us about, some of the things that we do have on our plate. We'll still try and figure out about goals to, get people, all island residents access to the bike path system.
Right. Well, I know what you're saying as far as like at Hickory. Are you talking about Hickory or Chicory? Because Hickory's off
Chicory.
Chicory.
No, I was talking about Hickory. So either by the police station or, between, Macomb and Grays. There's different things that we've been looking at. And so, again.
Let me ask you though, let me ask you as far as a traffic light, like at Hickory, or a crossing of some sort, how would that help anybody that's on Parkway that has to walk Parkway or ride their bike on Parkway with the thousands of cars a day that we have? How does that help them? That's that right there is my whole argument.
Mm-hmm.
That's my whole argument, is that there's no way for us to get to Meridian without being on Parkway. So I've really utilized the Parkway for while this bridge is closed. But
yeah,
I see the day that a kid gets hit on there.
Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. And again, we can look at different ways. That's why I was saying, like, Hickory Drive might help out people that are on Graves or Haley Crescent, or Hickory Drive itself. Depending on the time of the year, people might be able to to walk, across the Parkway Preserve in order to get access there if they're on, Chicory or Blauvelt or Waterway. But yeah, we do recognize that, there's still people that don't have access. And so we'll try and figure out ways, like I said, down the road, maybe there's something, or, as we're pursuing stuff, things might change based on what we find, along the way with doing developments. So, I just want you to know that you've been heard, and we're definitely, if possible, trying to find ways to make those connections happen.
Okay. Can I ask your name, because I don't recognize you?
Sure. I'm Brian Pawlik. So I chair this commission, and I'm the one that's generally answering stuff on Groseal Walks and Bikes.
Okay. Thank you. It's good to have a face to the name when I see it.
No problem. I realize okay. Yeah, so that being said, appreciate you're here. You're more than welcome to stay for the remainder, which again, we'll be talking about different projects that might be of interest to you.
Okay, thank you.
So with that, we can go into the next item, which would be welcoming Mary Bowling of the Downriver Link Greenways to talk to us about a partnership between them and the Township of Groseal. So, Mary, take it away.
Thank you. Can you allow me to share my screen? It says host disabled.
I'm seeing you.
Well, I wanted to share a presentation just to give everybody a little bit of background. Is that okay?
Brian Friel, would you be able to do that as far as give us access to share screen?
So while we're doing that, I'll go ahead and do a little bit of introduction. So let me know when that's available. And if not, I can wing it. That's no problem. But I'm Mary Bowling, and I co-chair the Downriver Linked Greenways, which is a group of 21 communities, including Groseal Township, that's working to create a network of connected bike paths and walking paths throughout our communities. And I also, my day job is working for Michigan State University Extension and the Sea Grant program. So I've been doing a number of different projects in the Downriver Link Greenways. And I'm hoping you can see that presentation coming up now.
Yep, I can see it.
Yep, that's it. Very good.
I'm going to start from the beginning. Hopefully I can get it to go. There we go. So Downriver Link Greenways, we've been in existence since 1998. Actually, Congressman John Dingell started the initiative at a community conference, and looking at economic development and how we can encourage people to come to the downriver communities. And so one of those ways that was identified was through creating bike paths and walking trails. So we have an overall vision map that is looking at connecting the main trunkways along I-275 and then through Flat Rock and Gibraltar, and then up Jefferson Avenue to Detroit, and then along the Rouge River roughly. And then those are our main trunkways. And then there's all these different minor trunkways that connect all of the interior communities to those areas. So we were fortunate a few years ago when the Iron Bell Trail was announced, that's going to go from Belle Isle in Detroit all the way up to Iron Mountain in the western part of the Upper Peninsula. Congressman Dingell actually helped us incorporate the Downriver Link Greenways into that. So some of our trails, especially those along Jefferson Avenue through Flat Rock and then on up through the metro parks, are all part of that Iron Bell Trail that's envisioned right now. Some of it's in place, some of it we're working towards. So if you're looking for more information, we have this downrivertrails.org. Earlier this year, we revamped the website and made it more user-oriented versus planning-oriented. And we have a lot of different tour options that are available there. And I'll just mention 3 of our water trail initiatives actually incorporate Grosse Ile. So we have the Hennepin Loop, the Conservation Crescent Loop, and then the Grosse Ile Paddle Loop. So those are available to people. It gives them kind of a sample day trip or hour trip, or it's a sampling of what they can do on the Downriver Link Greenways. So I just want to mention downrivertrails.org if you want more information about what we're doing. Specifically, Brian asked me here to talk about our Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation grant that we're working with the Friends of the Detroit River on, and also in partnership with the DNR Iron Bell Trail. And I'll talk about 3 different pieces of that will impact Grosse Ile. So we have a lot of different partners on that. I mentioned the fiduciary partners, Friends of the Detroit River, Downriver Link Greenways, and the DNR, but we also are working with 11 different communities in the downriver area, 10 communities downriver, and then Detroit. So we're looking at connecting Detroit with those downriver communities along that Iron Bell pathway that I mentioned earlier. So here's the section that we're talking about. It sort of starts here at the Fort Street Bridge Park where this red dot is, comes down the pink line. Pink is where there's a current gap existing. Green is where we have existing trails. Again, pink, there's little pink parts here and there. It goes all the way to this other gateway feature, which is at Hurock Park, or near Hurock Park in Flat Rock. But you'll notice that there's also this spur that comes off and connects Grosse Ile along Grosse Ile Parkway. So what you were talking about earlier, Carol. So there's 7 different elements to this project. 1 and 2 and 7 are the ones that really are most relevant to Grosse Ile, although the marketing and branding plan is certainly relevant. Hines Park Connector Framework, which is this section here, looking at how we connect with the Downriver Link Greenways and the Hines Park system. And then I mentioned the gateway features earlier, one in the city of Detroit and one in the city of Flat Rock. And then the Fort Street Bridge Park construction, which is located near this gateway. So lots of different moving pieces to this grant. We received the grant about 18 months ago, and we have about 18 months to go in this process. So it's a 3-year grant. We're about midway through the process right now. The gaps that were identified, you can see not a whole lot of gaps, which is nice. We've got 25 miles of trail and only a few, well, up until now, we were saying about 3.5 miles of gaps. Initially, we thought there was about a 1/2 mile of gap in the township of Groseal. Since then, we've modified that, and it's about 1 mile now that we're looking at, and I'll explain that in just a minute. We have 17 different major intersections that we're looking at through those communities. On Groseal, I want to point out we started out looking at just Meridian and Macomb Street, but since then we've added Meridian at Bellevue as well. So all of those intersections we're looking at, there's been a safety assessment done, but also we're looking at aesthetic amenities too. So things that will make it look and feel like you're part of one system, regardless of what community you're in. So we haven't settled on any design features, but we're investigating different treatments of the intersection crossings. I think most of you probably are familiar with the just the white striping. Typically, crosswalks just have a single white bar that goes every so often. There's no color in between, but we're looking at investigating with Wayne County what might be allowable under their current permitting processes that we can incorporate. We'd like to make it more easily identifiable as a downriver link greenway system. Again, doesn't matter what community you're in. So we're looking at different treatments. Could be brick pavers, could be paint that looks like brick pavers. This is the more traditional one that everybody's probably used to, but we're looking at lots of different features. And just giving you a sneak peek, this is something we just reviewed last week. We're looking at signage as part of that too. So these are two of my favorites, but we're probably looking at something that's more of a hybrid with a 2-post option, the Downriver Link Greenways logo, a community name, the arrows that tell you which way to go to stay on the pathway. We're investigating whether or not we can incorporate mile markers as part of that. We have to identify a start and an end point, and with downriver communities, it's difficult sometimes to figure, where you're going or coming from. So we also would incorporate the Iron Bell Trail logo as part of that. And then there's a new initiative for the Great Lakes Way logo, which the Great Lakes Way is an initiative to start from St. Clair County and go all the way to Monroe County or vice versa. Again, not dictating which way you're going, north to south or south to north. But the Great Lakes Way, that logo hasn't been developed yet, but that's an initiative that's been started by the Ralph C. Wilson Junior Foundation, as well as other partners, Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan. So we're looking at different types of signage that we might incorporate along the way. So this could be a potential. We've also asked the consultant to incorporate maybe some of the lattice work. So it's probably going to be some hybrid of this, but I just wanted to give you a sneak peek of what that signage might look like. And then there would be different signage available depending on the location. It could be something that's more low profile and not as tall and visible, depending on where you're at and the complexity of the trail. And then, so that's tasks 1 and 2, which is the route gaps and the intersections. And then we have task 7, which is the capacity building and project sustainability. So that incorporates a lot of things, mainly looking at how are we going to fund these projects? Because for task 1 and 2, we have money in the current grant to do design and engineering up to the point of permitting, but we don't have construction dollars. So this capacity building is looking at how do we go after or work with the communities to partner with them on seeking some construction dollars. And one of those pieces that we're going to be coming to Groseal actually fairly shortly is looking at a community management agreement, or CMA. And that'll be just kind of outlining what are we going to provide as a Downriver Link Greenways, what are we hoping that the township can provide, and we'll be entering into one of these agreements with each and every one of the communities that I listed earlier. So that's going to be coming shortly. That's the main piece that impacts Grosse Ile there. And then getting more specific, I mentioned earlier the half a mile of pathway that we initially had put out for bid. When we secured a consultant, we thought that the path could potentially go down Waters Way. I know we talked about that earlier. Carol mentioned that, but the public meeting was such that there wasn't a lot of public support for that. So we've come back to Grosse Ile to say, what's maybe an alternative to that. So we have, based on conversations with Grosse Ile, we have given our consultant a go-ahead to investigate this this pathway that would come down Grosse Ile Parkway and then potentially either go down Waterway, or if they stay on the south side of Grosse Ile Parkway, there's that little turnaround that would bring people down to, and I don't know that has a name, but it would bring, I'm sorry, what is it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you could hear me. It's a ramp, like a ramp. It's a West River ramp.
Yeah.
West River access ramp or something like that.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily a street name, but there's a ramp there that we could bring people down, or we could bring people to the light and then bring people across.
Actually, Mary, that road goes all the way up here where it could bring Chicory into it too.
Right. The challenge is on the north side of Grosse Ile Parkway, there's a Wayne County ditch drain. Yep. And so there's not really enough right of way to go along Grosse Ile Parkway. That's been our challenge, because we did investigate going down Grosse Ile Parkway. Right now, we don't know that that's feasible. Our consultant is telling us that there's not enough right of way there it would make it cost prohibitive to try and do anything along Grosse Ile Parkway. But we've gone back to the consultant to ask. There's a couple of variations that we're looking at. So we're looking at
Chicory can also go up to Waterway and come down and then get on the connector across the bridge too.
Correct. So Chicory is where the light is right now. Yep. And so the other option, so we're investigating, going down the ramp. We're also investigating going to Chicory and then coming down West River Access Road. And then the third option that's being investigated right now is actually looking at who owns the right of way if we come on the north side of Grosse Ile Parkway and then cut down on the north side and come down this way. It looks like it would require about 200 feet of boardwalk. So I don't know if that's going to be cost prohibitive.
There has been a for sale sign on that property at Waterway and Grosse Ile Parkway for a while. I haven't been down there since the reconstruction of that bridge of West River. Right there where your arrow is, that property has been for sale for a while.
So 2 weeks ago, I walked this with the consultant just to look and see what was feasible down here. And again, it looks like once you get closer to River Road, it would require a boardwalk and some extensive permitting. So I'm not sure.
Now, you need to revisit it because this past weekend they repaved that whole bridge that was under construction there. So I don't know what they did there, but it could be accessible. I don't know. I haven't been up there because they were doing the concrete.
Yep. So West River Road is accessible and Waters Way is accessible. The point between the two, especially this section that's closer to West River Road, would require about 200 feet of boardwalk to go from where my cursor is now to West River Road.
Couldn't they come underneath the new bridge that is huge and then come right up the access road to the crosswalk here? There's a little sidewalk.
So it's being investigated. That's the best I can say right now. The
Okay.
consultants are on it. They're investigating a couple of different options, and the reason being because once you get over the Groseal Parkway Bridge, and I know that that's, you know, potentially up for complete reconstruction, we would be supportive of moving. Right now, there's two small pedestrian pathways, one on either side of the bridge. We would be supportive of moving both of those to one side of the bridge so that you have a wider pathway on one side for pedestrian and bike access. I don't know whether that's feasible or not. So those are all conversations we're having with the county. But once you get into the Trenton side of things, then for cost-wise, it's advantageous to us down Riverland Greenways to look at the north side of Groseal Parkway versus the south side of Groseal Parkway. So those are all things we're considering right now. But once we get onto Groseal, and ultimately what we want to do is one way or another get down to West River Drive and then look up Bellevue Road and get that to Meridian. And of course, as you know, once you cross over Meridian, then we could connect up with the existing pathway. We've had some preliminary conversations with, Brian's helped us with this, and actually had preliminary conversations with the private golf course that's here, as well as the public golf course that's here. And the private golf course is supportive of this effort as long as we can stay within the county right-of-way. Or within the road right of way. And so that's what the consultant is looking at right now. Have
you guys explored the possibility of being on the south side of Groseal Parkway once you cross the bridge? Because Edison is going away. And all that is there. And I believe—
I'm not sure what Edison is.
Detroit Edison has the property right here on the south side, and they're closing that.
Yeah, you're talking about on the Trenton side.
Yes, and there's a huge easement on the south side, and you won't be dealing with bridges and stuff like that on the north side.
The challenge is at the canal. Right now, the bridge that goes over the canal, right now the bridge that goes over the canal includes a pedestrian pathway on the north side of the Groseal Parkway. It doesn't include anything on the south side. If we were to, as it sits today, if we were to go on the south side, we would need a separate bridge for the bike path / walking path for the Down Riverland Greenways. We'd have to have a separate bridge, but we're exploring lots of different options. So that's why I say our consultant is looking at, sorry.
Have you looked at any funding with the closing of Detroit Edison?
Yes.
Have you looked at any funding for them to cover the cost of that pathway?
We've had some preliminary conversation. I actually used to work for Detroit Edison, which is DTE Energy. And so I have very good working relationships with them. And so we've had some conversations, but again, it gets down to what's it going to cost us to do the design and engineering and the construction. So we're still investigating both the north and the south side. So I'll just leave it at that. We're investigating both at this point, lots of different options. But again, once we get over the parkway, over the bridge, we're looking at Bellevue. And if we can keep the path within the existing right-of-way, then we'll have enough funding we've provided to the consultant to do design and engineering for this entire piece here that will get us up to Meridian, and including the intersection going across Meridian here. Okay. If for some reason we can't stay within the existing right-of-way, our alternative would be to bring the pathway to the parking lot of the public golf course, and then design and engineer from the parking lot of the private golf course across. And then that would leave this, which is relatively, it's got definitely less traffic than Groseal Parkway. And, you know, people could potentially comfortably walk the shoulders in this area
There's very little shoulder there.
The part of the Downriver Link Green or the Iron Bell that this is part of is the hiking portion. So this would be something that, you know, we could look at a later time, but if it can't stay within the existing right-of-way, we would eliminate this red section from our design and engineering right now, and then work with the township to determine what an alternative is.
Have you looked at the possibility of closing from the parking lot at Water's Edge to the parking lot at the country club and turning that into a one-way road?
Yeah, a road closure was discussed with us. It's been my experience, again, working on trails for 20 years in Downriver. It's very unlikely that you're going to get a road closure. Not to say that it can't happen, but it's outside of the scope of what we currently have the funding to pay the consultant to do. If the township decided to do it at a later date.
Close the whole road, have the road one way, and for emergency purposes, they can go either way.
Yeah, it's outside of the scope. I mean, we've already contributed another $25,000 on top of what we had originally given to the consultant. We've approved a change order to look at this new route. But if it's not feasible to stay within the right of way, then that gets outside of the scope of what we've currently paid the consultant to do. So not to say that it can't happen and that, you know, I mean, we would support whatever the township wants to see happen as Downriver Link Greenways. But right now with the funding that we have available, this is what we're able to do.
Mm-hmm.
You had mentioned a little bit about the bridge construction and the issues with that right now. I'm wondering sorry about that. I'm wondering what will happen if that bridge is has a lengthy delay, or if that bridge is moved, or about, you know, who can we discuss to get a proper pedestrian bicycle across the bridge instead of that tiny dangerous one that we had before?
I mean, last time the decking was reconstructed, Downriver Link Greenways was assured by county, not executive, but the county authorities, that it would be both pedestrian pathways would be moved to one side of the bridge to widen it. When we came for the ribbon cutting and the opening of the bridge, we saw that it was not the case. So, I mean, we're doing the best we can. We're a volunteer-oriented group. We don't have any paid staff with Downriver Link Greenways, but we do have conversations ongoing with the county. And, you know, we are letting them know what our preferences are, but obviously if we're not paying for it, we don't have the ability to dictate what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca, to give you a little update, when I spoke with Carl this afternoon, late evening, Jim Bundy is going to have weekly updates on the status of the bridge and what's going to happen. Personally, I don't see us spending $80 to $100 million for a new bridge at this time. We don't have the funds. So I would leave it to Jim to give us an update when he meets with the county in the next week and see where we're at. Because I could just see this happening. If they decided to build a new bridge and we put this bike path is going to be like a bike path to the water.
That was my concern, because it kind of with the bridge right now, they spend all that money doing the decking, and then that's not useful because the footings are useless. And
well, that's not
want to
true.
spend money making a bike path when it's to nowhere.
The consultant that did the findings on the footings wants everything to be replaced, but with my discussions with Carl this late afternoon and early evening, they feel that they can be repaired and last for quite a while. But I don't want to state that as fact. I want to see somebody tell me that in writing.
So first, I want to thank Mary for coming and presenting, and I also want to thank her for her amazing flexibility and trying to get us something that suits our community needs. I just want to say, Mary's on our side. She's looking for different ways, to accomplish the goals, as she kind of mentioned out as far as different routes. And she isn't going to, promote one thing that the township doesn't like. So she's on our side with that, and I want to thank her for also taking the doing that change scope based on the findings from our public outreach meetings that we had in the past. Because originally we were talking about that north side of the Groseal Parkway, and then going in around Chicory and going through a cut. But through that public outreach, one, they determined that hey, they did not want that option at all. And I know that in our township there is no appetite for doing something that the residents don't agree with. And I'm on that front too. It's like try to find consensus where possible. And two, like even with all even if we did have their support, it was millions of dollars to do boardwalk across that preserve, that creek that runs north south through that area, and then you're dumping it out onto regular roadways without sidewalks. And from a hiking, the Iron Bell Trail hiking route, that makes it ineligible for improvements. So it's like there was a lot of things on that route that it was an uphill battle. And so when we found out that we maybe we could utilize Bellevue and connect to the water's edge and get a twofer in that regard, is hey, we're making our connection to the rest of downriver, and we're also connecting to our our community center and getting kids that way. We thought that would be the better way to go. So in that regard, but that being said, it's amazing that Mary was talking about looking at that option about hey, is there a way that you can utilize the light at Chicory so people can still get access to water's edge and have a roundabout way to the rest of the Groseal paths, as well as have access to the rest of downriver. So I guess that's a long way of saying that, again, there's been a lot of things that have been looked at, and all of us are trying to figure out and hedge our bets about what's going to happen in the future and make it future proof. So like if this route works out that Mary just explained, I think that sets us up the best in regards to future bridge improvements, because we're not really touching the bridge. We're just bringing people up to that. And then if there is a new bridge or something, we should be able to, capitalize off of that. Generally, the way things are now is like, hey, if you have a path near there, when a community, when a road agency has to, redo that bridge, if there's paths connecting up to it, well, then they should be putting in that facility. There's even more reason for them to stretch that dollar to make that happen.
I totally agree. Mary,
Well,
thank you for your time.
You're welcome. And I'll just add too, that once we're done with the design and engineering, it doesn't mean we go away. We would definitely be around to assist and potentially lead a fundraising effort to actually see construction happen. So, we're committed to connecting all of our communities in the downriver area. And so we consider ourselves a resource. We're small, but we've been fairly successful in getting construction projects happening. And, this most recent round of funding with Ralph C. Wilson for almost $2 million to connect 10 communities is pretty significant. And, Ralph Wilson Jr. Foundation is definitely interested, and the Iron Bell folks are definitely interested in seeing us actually get through construction. And we're more than happy to assist the township or, do what we can to make that construction happen. So I'll just put that out there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Mary?
And I'll just say my contact info is there, and Brian knows how to get a hold of me. This is my cell
Mary,
phone
how do we
number.
get a copy of your presentation?
Yep, I can send it to Brian. That's no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks again, Mary. You're more than welcome to stick around, but I understand if you want to head on out.
I do have to get going. It's been a long day. I started at 8 o'clock this morning. Pardon?
Carol, did that help you at all?
Well, I'm mulling it over in my head, and I'm just still concerned about you know, all of the residents that are on the Groseal Parkway. I know they don't want anything in front of their house or behind, but to me, that's still an issue for the 3-block area right there, as far as trying to get, you know, to any of the accesses. The only access I can get to is the bridge and go off. I can't utilize, even if I go for a walk on bike paths, I drive myself to the bike path to take a walk, because I can't walk on Parkway. There's, when the bridge is open, there's way too many cars. So that's where my concern is that the, you know, we're in the very center of the island, and it's not helping me at all per se to get up to Meridian. I don't see how.
Well, the only plus part of the bridge being closed, as I saw yesterday, the 3 boys riding down the center of Groseal Parkway.
Yeah, I know. But I worry about those boys too, if they are going on Parkway to get to Meridian when there's traffic. And that's good. Once that bridge opens back up, we all know what the traffic is like. People are on cell phones and everything else. I would have to put my bike in the car, and at my age, I'm not really doing that. So I'm just enjoying bike riding right now while I can.
Well, thank you for your input.
Oh, you're welcome.
Great. So we can move on, and we will go to bike path maintenance funds. You know, I did not get an update on the balance, but based on that, we did not get an update. I'm assuming it's the same as last time, as nothing has been, you know, taken out at this time. I will say that, you know, as part of your agenda packet, there was, you know, a motion to approve. You know, I should say, you know, they're asking for our recommendation about approving the payment for the asphalt work that did happen this spring. So if you do see the document, I'll try to pull it up on the screen here in a minute here. So, you know, this is for the work that just happened over the spring, an amount of $94,351.20 roughly. And so that would be to Al's Asphalt. And so it's for the crack sealing and seal coating that was done. We didn't, you know, originally we had approved a larger amount, which would be for some reconstruction of paths, but that did not happen this year. So that amount was taken out of the full amount, but they, Al's Asphalt may be back in the spring in order to finish up that work. So I know I sent this out ahead of time. Is there any questions in regards to the amount? Any concerns about, you know, not recommending this to the township administration to pay for? Hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to you know, recommend the township board that they pay Al's Asphalt for contractor invoice 26809 and the amount of $94,351.19.
I second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Thank you, everyone. Motion passes. So in regards to other maintenance items, is there anything that is of concern that people have seen that we should be addressing, or you know, anything as far as, you know, future maintenance items that we'd like to see? I'll just note that. I'm sorry.
Something.
Yes, Carol.
Can I speak?
Yes.
Okay. There's I don't know if this is the right time to talk about it, but over near Ferry, the bike path goes from one part of the street to the other. Has there been any discussion about putting a traffic light in there? For
That's the
safe-
next agenda item. Yes.
Okay, okay,
I should say it'll be one of the next agenda items. I think we got one other thing over here. But
Okay.
yeah, that is something that we are looking at. And so that we categorize those as safety issues as opposed to just maintenance things. So maintenance is usually, we're regarding it as about the surface condition. So it's like, is the pavement broken up? Is there potholes in there? Is there, heaving going on? Is there areas that need to be swept? Is there vegetation that's like overgrown that is, creating a sight distance issue or navigability issue? That's the type of stuff that generally falls into the maintenance category.
okay, thank you.
Only thing I'll add is that Wes Pfeiffer had mentioned that his past survey of the bike path bridges led him to believe that we will need to redeck the bridge that crosses thoroughfare on Meridian. This year coming up, I believe that there was some structural issues below, so you need to rip up the decking in order to access that. And since the decking was in bad shape to begin with, it would be better to actually redo that as opposed to try and salvage the wood. So again, that might be a higher cost maintenance item that we'll need to do this coming year potentially. So I'd like to start talking with our new township board and township managers and such to see how we'd like to address that. Do we need an independent inspection first of all? Do we want to go out for bid, or do we want to do what we've done in the past that's served us well in regards to sole sourcing and over to Wes Pfeiffer, who's the one that did put together all of the bridges. He designed them, he built them, and he's been taking care of them fairly, very good over the past years. So just want to see what their opinion is on that, and see how we proceed for next year. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll go over to Dan, who wanted to talk about a grant opportunity. This is another grant, Ralph Wilson grant opportunity, but it is separate and different from what Mary Bowling was talking about. So for those of you unfamiliar, Ralph Wilson is a philanthropist, and he put his money in a variety of different sources. And so there's a Ralph Wilson Legacy Fund that is being administered by the Ralph Wilson Foundation itself. But there's also funding that was given to other organizations such as the Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan, who has a variety of different smaller grant opportunities, including one specifically for transportation and design access. You're accessing different facilities. So I believe the grant amount total can be up to $50,000. It can be for planning, it could be for engineering, but it could also be for some actual structural improvements. So with that, Dan, would you like to talk a little bit more about
I just want to say goodbye. Thanks, you guys.
Take care, Rebecca. Enjoy your trip.
Thanks. Bye.
I just wanted to know where we're at, Brian, because we haven't really discussed what we're doing. And I think the expiration date is approaching in January. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can double check, but I believe that is the deadline for the application. So
I mean, what as a group, what should we be looking at? What's the consensus, in my opinion? What do we want to go after? What's pressing?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is free funds for our township.
Yeah, I think that we should probably discuss what are the opportunities, what would be one eligible
for training. Can we use it for education for the younger residents, the older residents? I mean,
yeah. Dan, did you have a chance to go over the eligibility requirements to see
I read it.
Fund?
I read it last month and I didn't get a chance. I've been busy the last 3 weeks. I just wanted to bring it up to see if anybody had any ideas that they would want me to look into.
Mm-hmm. So my thoughts, again, if we do find something, it'd probably go towards either your design or for like a smaller project. So, it could potentially be for, if we're working on the Gibraltar Bay connector, we need to pay for CE Rains to do the design and administration. Maybe that could, cover some of the costs for that. If we wanted to do, a trailhead or something like that, maybe that, the cost could be a part of that. Other aspect is, again, with these safety concerns that, I'm bringing up, maybe that can potentially go for some of the costs for those items, which again, we might not be applying for larger grants for those projects. And so, maybe that could go a long way to helping us out. So I'd say, keep it in mind. Let's us all look at it and maybe hold a study session specifically to flesh that out. And Dan, I don't know, do you have time to bird dog this, as far as, look at,
Yes, I was thinking, and what brought it up was the discussion with Carl tonight. I was coming down Parkway earlier in the week and watched the guy, not Parkway, Meridian, and watched the guy not even slow down on his bike and cut across Meridian in between traffic. The person in front of me slowed down, I slowed down, but the car coming around the curve northbound, he almost got him. And I was thinking, we need to get some uniform signage out there. And Carl saw the same thing on Grow earlier. So can we use these funds from Ralph Wilson for signage and uniform signage? And what we would like you to do, because this is your expertise, tell us what type of signage we really need.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a thought. We can look into that. I apologize. I'm trying to bring up my screen right now too. Again, I don't know if that's specifically eligible, but we can look into that. So this is the page, Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan. They have special grant opportunities. And so the Ralph Wilson Jr. Fund has, a caregivers fund, a youth sports fund,
I saw that.
a fund specifically for Grosse Points, but also has, design and access fund. And so it supports projects that increase walkability and bikeability for local communities or increasing outdoor recreational activities, within the region. So potentially there, but, we might have to have a larger conversation. Looking at the timeline, it looks like we have, towards the end of the year in order to register, like with the basically an intent to apply using the application over here called Flux. And then January 8th is the deadline. And then potentially late April would be, an award review, and then they'll make their decisions in May. So, I'd say, we can look at that as far as the sign standardization. My feeling is, I'm not sure how much signs alone are gonna, promote, better access. But we could look at that. Additionally, I was thinking, maybe about, Ferry and Meridian, as far as, that option, as far as going for rectangular rapid flashing beacons or something like that. So let's look over these details for like what it's possible to do and figure out what project has the most, that we could actually get done. You know what I mean? It's like, it's one thing if it's eligible, it's another thing if we have the cash and we have the willpower to actually get it done. So I like where you're going with it as far as the signs. That's probably something that is, small enough that, it's in our wheelhouse that we could do it ourselves. We don't need to hire out somebody else to accomplish it. So let's think about that. Maybe meet up in like a week or so and talk about it a little bit more.
Brian can set up a Zoom for us, and we could talk about this as a study session.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Brian?
Sounds good.
Brian Friel.
Yes, we can absolutely do that. No problem.
Okay, thank you. I'm afraid one of these days we're going to hear about one of our residents getting hit by a car crossing one of our bike paths.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can move on.
I would say, like, maybe we go a little farther with it rather than just being the signs. Maybe you look at some just general intersection improvements and standardization, having high visibility crosswalk markings. And
Exactly. I mean, that's your expertise, and that's what I was talking to Carl about. I mean, if you could help us with that, and him and I would take it to Dale and see where we can go with this. And
yeah,
also funding. I mean, that stuff is not cheap.
So yeah, it'd be good to get John Hennessy a part of that too, because he has a good idea of the prices for this stuff, since he does more design. I know what the standards are, but he can tell me the prices for the stuff.
Is he in town, or is?
I am not sure. He was very brief with me via text message, saying that he wouldn't be able to, as of yesterday, he wasn't able to make it.
I mean, we could do a Zoom when he's available. I mean,
yeah.
I just worry about our residents.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds good. I appreciate both you and Carl, bringing that up, because, I do have that on the agenda here as something that, again, we're supposed to be taking care of. So the other thing related to this, I guess I'm going right into bike safety issues. Again, is, we've heard from the public, many times about Ferry and Meridian. I think many of us have experienced it ourselves. It's an issue, especially for people trying to cross the road when you're walking or biking. But it's also an issue from a motor vehicle standpoint. And with the bridge being closed for another year, it's a little too long for us, to wait for traffic to die back down. And I think that it'd behoove us to try and figure out what's the path of least resistance for getting better crossings up there. I know I have talked with the police commissioner before, and he was very gracious to purchase a few blinking lights that go up at the crossings, and they do make it a little more conspicuous, but I feel like there needs to be some stop control, or some sort of more standardization about what to do, rather than just provide caution to motorists in that area, especially because those lights are on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It kind of becomes noise in the background. So what I would like to do is, work with the police commissioner, work with the police chief to figure out what we can do, what funds Groseal has available, what we might be able to grab. Again, if we can get $50,000 from the Ralph Wilson Fund for something like this, and then maybe the Wayne County picks up a little bit, given that they're already in positioning us enough. Maybe we can get a better crossing over there. What I'd like to try for would be a full light, so that way it helps out with motor vehicles too. But we'll see what we can get. Even if it's rectangular rapid flashing beacons, I mean, those run, I think, around $15,000 to $20,000. So it's relatively cheap, and that would still be better than what we have out there now.
Well, you mentioned we should have approached it when the West River was down, and people from West River had to come up Ferry to get off the island on the Free Bridge, or even to access Macomb Street. I mean, that's a hazard. That is a terrible corner.
Mm-hmm. And it's something that's just not in our purview to we have to deal with the road. So, it's working with DPS, it's working with the police commission. This is a, much larger thing to just BPAC. But again, just like you're saying with the signs, I'd like to be a little more systemic on what we do, because we have this crossing here, which is of the most concern, but we also have the crossing up at Horse Mill. We'll actually have two crossings up at Horse Mill, one at the intersection and one just north of the intersection.
The other thing, when we want to talk about safety, what can we do about the people? We have a bike path on Meridian, yet they still insist on riding their bikes on Meridian.
Mm-hmm.
We do nothing about that, Dan. And I say that with a straight face, because if they're, if they are abiding by the rules of the road, if they're behaving like a motor vehicle, they are entitled by law to be there. Bicyclists have the right, and have to obey all the rules of motor vehicles out there. So when you have and again, I don't know the context of this specific one, but generally the people that I see riding on the road, they're the people that are training for, century rides. They're the people that are going really fast. They have their specific bicycling shoes that, lock into the pedals. It's a different type of bicycling. And to put those type of people, and I don't mean this in any bad way, it just, these type, and I'll just say that, people that are, fit that mold, they're training for the, centuries, they're training for performance, they're going fast. They're going to be going 25, 30, sometimes 40 miles an hour. Would you want, that type of person on a bike path with your children, or on a bike path, where you have your dog, or, people with their headphones in? I mean, it's just as, bad, for them, for the people on the bike path, if those people are out there. Plus, they're going super fast. The sight distances for the way those bike paths were built, aren't safe for that. Bike paths are generally built for people going 10 to 15 miles per hour.
I was referring to the recreational bike people that are on Meridian.
Yeah, you're referring to them. So my thing is, we need to do more education that they're allowed to be out there. And just, if that was a motor vehicle, if it was going a little bit slow, yeah, you might be a little bit annoyed, but you wouldn't be saying, get off the road, you shouldn't be here.
No, I'm just worried about their safety, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the morning hours. We have the darkness now. And there's so many cyclists out there that do not have lights.
Yeah. I mean, that's a different thing. And again, we should look into that, figure out as far as, letting people know from PR, public relations aspect, if we have lights to give out, giving those out. And then, I mean, in that case, if they do not have lights, they're breaking the law. Like a vehicle, your vehicles aren't supposed to be, traveling at night with their headlights off. They would get a ticket. At that point, if you've warned somebody and they continue to do that, well, then they should get a ticket. That's an actual offense. But just being out there, riding with traffic, I think we got bigger issues to worry about than that. Sorry for being on a soapbox there, Dan.
No, you're fine. I mean, we got to be concerned about the residents.
Mm-hmm.
That is my biggest concern. I mean, I see these people. I see those cyclists that you were talking about that are in training. Christ, they're going faster than me.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, I wish I could do that.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Cool. So is there any other bike path or bicycle safety issues or pedestrian safety issues that should be brought up? Hearing none, quickly just, go past the bike path enhancements. I don't think that there's been any updates, but
the only thing I can say is our Eagle Scout has been overwhelmed with school, and I talked to him a little over a week ago, and I left a message with him tonight. So apparently he couldn't log in. He's overwhelmed with school.
Yeah.
Understandable. Only other thing I'd add about enhancements, Mary talked about some of the wayfinding signage and stuff that might be part of Downriver Link Greenways and Iron Bell Trail. Maybe we, kind of defer on some of that stuff unless something specific comes up to, see what the plan is that, they might be doing for us. So that way we don't have to, do some of the stuff on our own.
Cool.
So move into new path updates. The first is about the Gibraltar Bay Connector. So for those of you not familiar, BPAC in partnership with the airport has been looking into the possibility of creating a pathway or a trail or basically just some safer connectivity to get you from Grow Road to the Gibraltar Bay unit of the International Wildlife Refuge. What we're looking to do is utilize an existing road that the airport has along the periphery by actually moving the fence inward, so that way people can use this gravel roadway in order to access it and not have to deal with the cars that are along East River Road, especially since the East River Road does not have much of a shoulder, and the pavement at that shoulder is in bad condition. So we've gotten cost estimates for that. In the past, we've looked at grant opportunities with the FLAP grants, or Federal Land Access Program. We were turned down for that. Again, that was probably about 4 years ago, maybe. So then we've been looking at ways to do it later, quicker, cheaper. So rather than an asphalt pathway, again, we're looking at, what can you do bare bones to get some sort of connectivity? So the most recent estimate that CE Rains was able to put together when it all is said and done was over $400,000. And given that we do not have a fund for developing bike paths right now, that's untenable. We actually have to go out for grants for that. And then when you go with grants, then that means that there's other requirements involved, and that might balloon the cost more. So long story short, CE Rains, myself, Carl, and Dale Ream will sit down to see what other ways can we value engineer this project so that way it can be cheap enough. Because the goal is to get this to a minimal cost that we could potentially do this through some smaller grants, or ask the community to donate to the project, or maybe find some funds through other resources within the township. So my goal is to try and get this project down to around $100,000 or $150,000. I don't know if we can do it, but that's where I'm going with the project, to see what we can do. And if that's the case, again, that Ralph Wilson fund that we talked about with $50,000, that might be good seed money. So is there any other questions, comments, things other people have been looking into as far as this project?
I think it's a worthwhile project.
Is Carol still here? Carol, do you
Yes.
have...
Yep. I have a question. I missed where you said that it's going to connect from Grow Road to where?
To the International Wildlife Refuge, the Gibraltar Bay unit. So let me see if I can pull this up on a map.
Carol, that's over across from Albemarle Boat Club.
Yep.
There's an open fence area. You need to go back there and take a look at it.
You know what? I've been there.
Okay.
I have been there, but I guess I just didn't really look at this, the name of it.
Yep.
They got a picnic table back there. Is that
What's
the
that?
one about? There's a picnic table back there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So the existing bike path terminates, right at East River Road over here.
Uh-huh.
You see the end. This service road is parallel with the Grow Road path, and then heads straight south. And there's a few gates along the way and the driveways where you might be able to kind of peek in, but it officially runs directly into the Detroit International Wildlife Refuge with the Gibraltar Bay unit. So again, we thought, hey, if we can get this done cheap, that would get us to another key destination and help market our trails to say, hey, everything that we're doing, feeds into this larger regional connections, as well as it gets people closer, because I know that there's a lot of demand on the south end as well, as far as, connections. So if we can get people past, a lot of this high speed blind spot areas, I think it'd probably be better for these people living on East River and, south of there as well.
Okay.
And so this is part of this project where we thought, again, we've been working with the Detroit International Wildlife Refuge for some time, the goal of connecting both units together, Humbug Marsh and the Gibraltar Bay unit. So there's a path along Jefferson, if we're able to do what Mary was talking about and have our connection, to get to Meridian, and then take Meridian to Grow, and then this is the last phase over here to get to the Gibraltar Bay unit.
Okay.
that currently a gravel path?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
Mhm.
Dirt and gravel. There are some low spots. When we were there in the spring, there was some standing water that will probably have to be addressed. But yeah, the road is there. It's not commonly used, Christine.
Yeah. So, and this is where I think part of the breakdown is that I think that Sahil is thinking about this as building it as, you know, an improved bike path. And I think that's a great goal, but that costs a lot of money. So what I'm trying to frame it as, you think of our open space trails, you know, it's just dirt. You know, yeah, there's areas that are underwater in some parts of the, you know, time of the year, but it's navigable. You know, people walk out there, people ride their bikes. You know, I'm hopeful that, you know, we can start with something like that, get people interested in it, and then we can say, yeah, hey, for an additional $150,000 or additional $200,000 or whatever, we can make this into, you know, an improved path, and it'll be limestone. Or, you know, if we do, you know, if we get more money, then we can pave it, you know, if we really wanted to go that route. But the point is doing things incrementally, so that way we can do it based on our budget we have here, and, you know, build up support for other things like the millage that we would like to ask for.
It's a starting point, Brian.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. We already talked about the Bellevue connector, so I'll just go into education encouragement campaigns. Rebecca's offline, so and I don't think there's been any status about walk and bike to school day. I believe we talked about. You know what? I'm not sure if we did we. We'll have to postpone that. You know, she probably might have some numbers or, you know, some debrief about it. But point was, you know, walk to school day was in early October.
Yeah, that's done.
Yeah, I just, you know, might be a debrief of that, but there potentially could be a bike to school day in you know, May of next year. So depending on what we see with COVID, if kids go back to school, that might be something to gear up for. And I know Rebecca's on this, and she says that, you know, that's what her passion project is. She wants to continue working on that.
Yeah, when I was typing up the notes from the last meeting, she had talked about the virtual walk to school day. I don't know.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, we had like, kind of like the way we have Spirit Week. The kids have Spirit Week, and, you know, one day they're dressing in their pajamas, another day they're dressing in red and white, or Michigan versus Michigan State.
What is
different.
Spirit Week? I don't have any kids.
That's why I was explaining it.
You got me. They actually dress up in their pajamas?
Yeah, today was pajama day at the middle school. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's exciting.
Yeah, yesterday was 50s day for the 50th day of school for Park Laners. So my daughter was dressed up in a poodle skirt, and, you know, it was all belled up like from Greece. So basically, you know, that analogy fell apart on you, Dan, so I apologize.
I had no idea what you were talking about.
Point is that, yeah, she had different activities for families and, you know, kids to do each day. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it was believed like one day it's like, hey, go try to find a park, or, you know, try to, you know, walk 5 miles. I forget the exact ones out there, but you know, we did have that put into the school newsletters. So hopefully we can have just a little debrief from her if she was able to hear anything about performance metrics. But otherwise, you know, hats off to Rebecca for trying to get something done in this very trying you know, time with COVID.
Any work on the bike safety class for next year?
I contacted Ben that you referred me to, Brian, and he's interested in doing that. And I found, I don't know if I can share my screen. I will try.
To be able to.
Okay. This is from the Department of Transportation, and it's about a 72-page document, but it's very detailed on how to organize a cycling skills clinic, and tells you everything you need to know, I think. So I don't know, do we need someone, as I'm reading, I'm seeing there's people that are like licensed to be cycling skills teachers. Do we need to get a hold of someone like that, or?
Yeah, that's a question that we need to answer. I have my personal preference, just from one, from a quality standpoint, but, two, from a liability standpoint, that having somebody that's been trained and it has that insurance in case something, God forbid, happens, it's good to have, a professional doing that. And so if we do want to go that route, I have been working with the League of Michigan Bicyclists. LMB is the initialism that a lot of times they go by. And so they have, an education group, and I can put you in touch with them. But we've been, there's been false starts. I think it was either 2 years ago now. We had someone lined up. We actually had everything ready to go. And then there was the cycling instructor lost his main job, and had to move across state. And so we had to cancel that course. And then we tried to get it going again, for this last May. And of course, COVID hit. So point is that, we do have people that are interested. And I don't know if it would be free or if there would be, a small cost associated with that. But it would be good to find out what that is, figure out some dates. I know that, I already made contact with Kim O'Farrell again, and she's all game for advertising that. So if we get it done in time, we can get that into Channels Magazine. And I know that there's demand out there for this class. So it's just figuring out, okay, how do we brand it? Who are we going to actually have teach it? Where's it going to be? And, figure out those costs involved with it. And
I thought about before, if we have a map that's specific to kids getting to school. So the safest specific ways to get to each school from different parts of Groseal, not everyone's aware of the Anderson cut, for instance, or, there's different little tricks that you learn, but you don't know when you first move here, maybe.
Yeah, I like where you're going with that. Mm-hmm. The way I tried to brand the last one was, again, this is not a class for people that are just learning how to ride their bike. These are people that have mastered the basics. But it's like, what do you do with the bike path ends? It's like, how do you get to your final destination? So school could be one of them, or it could be Macomb Street. Maybe you want to get down to the bakery, or maybe you're trying to get to Water's Edge currently. So what do you do when you exit that bike path and you're on a sidewalk? Because you have to behave differently when you're riding a bike on a sidewalk because, well, it's narrower. Sight distances, driveways, sight distance issues. So be prepared for all of that. Or what if there's no sidewalk and there is no bike path? You're just riding in the road. What do you do in that situation? How do you take the lane, or how do you scan the intersection? What do you do if there's some debris in the road? You have to make an evasive maneuver. That was the way that I was gearing it. And so I thought that, again, probably around fifth grade, fourth or fifth grade was like the ideal starting point, or minimum, because again, kids are old enough that they know how to stop their bicycle okay. They know how to scan a road generally. And like, that's when, at least anecdotally to me, that parents are starting to let their kids go out and be kids and explore the island on their own.
Mm-hmm. They also need to know how to maneuver down Macomb Street with the traffic coming in and out of the businesses too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those driveways are a big thing. Exactly.
So I think you're right on target with those 4 fifth graders.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, you deal with those kids in school?
I do. We're Zooming all day. That's my word wall back here.
No, I mean, do you think we're targeting the right kid, the age group, the 4th, 5th graders?
Yeah, I think so. Like it's right around 4th, 5th, 6th, the 6th graders. They're running wild. They're the ones out there on the bikes right now. They're the ones I'm seeing that are just making me nervous when they're crossing over there by ferry. I've seen kids go across, not use the crosswalk, but just go diagonally across there, and that's so dangerous.
By the golf course.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take the shortcut.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I can put you in touch with the league, and so that way you can start those conversations. And feel free to include me in on any conversations that you want, Christine. Okay. But I'm happy you're taking the lead on that.
Thank you.
So with that, yeah, I'm running late for another meeting. Is there anything else that people need to report on?
The only thing I want to add is that on the signage, Carl wants us to get going on it, and he wants some input from you on generalization, whether it's crosswalks, signage, whatever you think we need, and him and I will take it to Dale and present it to him. If you can do that, I mean,
Sounds good.
he's really on to this, and so am I.
All right, thanks, Dan. Appreciate that. Anything else, anybody?
Any action items or anything?
We don't have quorum anymore, so I don't think we could act on an action item. So with that,
I'll make a motion that we end the meeting,
all right.
but we don't have a quorum.
All in favor of ending the meeting at 9:02 p.m.?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Walk, bike, and drive safe.
Let's talk soon, Brian, about the signage.
Sounds good.